Welcome. Thank you for coming to tonight's forum that we're hosting for the Cole County Public Administrator. Later, we'll also be hosting the forum for the Eastern District Commissioners. My name is Gary Castor. I'm the managing editor of the Jefferson City News Tribune. With me is my assistant city editor, Rebecca Martin, who will serve as timekeeper. So before we get started, I'd like for us to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll get this thing underway. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prior to tonight, the candidates have been advised of the rules of the forum. Tonight's forum will include a series of opening statements, general questions for all the candidates, and closing statements. None of the questions have been shared with the candidates before this time. We ask that the audience refrain from expressing your support or opposition to a candidate by applause or making noise, as well as refraining from using a flash if taking photographs. And now let me introduce the candidates. To my right is Jean Schwaller, a Democrat. She has a financial background and 25 years of experience operating her agriculture consulting business, international consulting, and business training. And to my left is Joe Kunsting, a Republican who served as the Missouri Department of Mental Health's Director of Reimbursement. For the order of the opening and closing statements, they were determined before this forum by flipping a coin. Each candidate will be offered 1 minute for an opening statement, and we're going to begin with Jean.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for participating in the political process and coming this evening for the forum. I'm Jeannie Schwaller, and I'm the candidate for Public Administrator for Cole County. And I hope tonight that you will ask questions and that you will learn something about the job and take away a much more educated view of what a public administrator does. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
Again, thank you to everyone that showed up and listened to us to explain what we think, who is going to have to be responsible for this job. The position is a very difficult job. It is one of the ones that a lot of people say, do you know why you're doing this? And I said, yeah, I do. I do know what I'm doing. And it's a very difficult job, and it's 24/7. I know it's every day of the week, every day of the year. I'm a lifelong resident of Cole County. My wife is here supporting me. She just smiled at me. So, yes, looking forward to this forum.
All right, thank you. Well, then let's get started. Both of you, I think, have touched upon this idea. Many people may not be familiar with the responsibilities and duties of the public administrator. What do you perceive to be the duties of that office? And so we'll start with Joe.
The duties of the office is to assist the individuals that are assigned by the courts to the public administrator. Listen to them. Make sure you understand their needs. It's not giving them every opportunity to tell you what to do, but you listen to them. And a lot of times that's all they want to know, is that they have someone listening to them. Their financial issues could be difficult, but you have to look at what their financial needs are versus what their wants are, and it won't end up specifically what they want.
Okay. Jean?
Well, the public administrator is a position that I think the county is very fortunate to have. I hope none of you sitting here tonight will ever have the need for these services. But sometimes people fall in a situation whereby no one in their family will come forward and stand for them to take care of them when they're ill, or they're mentally ill, or they're developmentally disabled, or they have Alzheimer's, or the fact that there's a dysfunctional family that moves away. So the public administrator is appointed by the court as a guardian. You end up having like 6-year-old children. They have wants, but most importantly, they have needs. And the public administrator has to see to those needs first before they can help someone get their wants. And that means placement in proper homes. That means proper services for if they have a mental disability. Just all of their care. So just think about, you might get 200 children that you're going to have to take care of and make those decisions every day for every one of them.
All right, thank you. One of our readers will be offering this next question. This comes from Hayden Combs from Wardsville. Aside from being born and raised here, what are your qualifications for the position? In essence, how are you uniquely qualified to fill this role? And this will go to Jean.
I have a great deal of management experience. My education is in business management. I've run a successful business. I've managed a small university. I've taught accounting and taught management. And this position is really one of managing not only the client, but all of the services that are available in the community. That could be home health care agencies, it could be mental health agencies, nursing homes, but seeing a large role of management. I also have an education, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and PhD in business management. I have worked to take care of elderly people, my mother and another couple, and then my late husband. And I've managed estates for family members in several states, not only Missouri. I've worked for the legislature and written legislation, and I've worked within the legal system early in my career as a legal secretary.
All right, Joe?
The fact that I was born and raised in Cole County, lived here all my life, doesn't make me qualified. It is my life experience, my education that makes me qualified. I went to college, and, they don't teach Medicaid 101, they don't teach Medicare 101, they don't teach Insurance 101. It took me almost 30 years to get through it, and I went through the whole process. I want to make sure the individuals that are represented by this department or this office can have every funding source they need. They may have not gotten everything. You have to go back through it, and that's what I want to do, is give it a fresh look and go back through and make sure they are totally funded, and so that they can have every need, every financial resource they have, every proper living environment they have.
All right, thank you. Next question, I'll start with Joe. One of the primary responsibilities of the public administrator is to make decisions for those who can't care for themselves or have no one to care for them. Generally, how would you approach these sort of decisions?
I would, if they're able to tell me what they think that it's not going right for them, listen to them, and then, try to work a solution out. A lot of times people are told no, 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 but they may not understand why you're saying no. You have to let them tell you what they really want to do. And then if you can work it out and then finally say, here's what it is, and you get them to buy off on it, then that's the way you go. They have to have buy-in, and I call it self-directed care. They have to tell me what they think they want to do, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Jean?
I'm going to disagree a little bit with Joe, because if you are appointed a guardian, that means that you can no longer make decisions. And I always give a very personal situation. My mother, we had to place her into a residential care facility away from her home. The moment she saw me, I want to go home. She was no longer capable of staying at home. She couldn't take her medicine. She couldn't make any decisions. She would open the door to anyone. So I feel that if you are appointed guardian, you need to take care of that person to make those personal care decisions, to make the financial decisions, depending on what resources are available to them and available through multiple kinds of things, to find services in this community that can make things better for them. There's a myriad of resources. One of the little things is, our bus service. You can get a handicap bus pass. If they're able to do that, if it's a developmentally disabled person that can go to work at the sheltered workshop and they can take the bus, do they have the pass? Is it paid for? That kind of thing. So I think taking care of the person, making those proper decisions to be sure that they're safe and secure, and conserving their financial resources.
Okay, so there's a bit of a follow-up there. We'll start with Jean. There's an element of it that where the public administrator is taking control over that person's life, making those sort of decisions. How much control should the public administrator have over the client's life, and how do you determine how much is enough and how much is too much?
Well, if anyone sitting here thinks that I'm going, or Joe or I, either one, are going to make decisions on 250 people, what time they get up and what time they go to bed, you're wrong. There's this huge team of people, caregivers that are there. You have to work with the medical profession. If the people are placed in some sort of a facility, you have to make those determinations based on a lot of information on an individual basis. So it's very difficult to say how much input are you going to have. You need to protect that person, give them the ability to live a quality life within their ability to live and to make those good decisions. And based on the caregivers and the medical profession and this whole team of people that work together. The public administrator doesn't make that decision on a daily basis, that they need to brush their teeth at 7:15 in the morning.
Okay. Joe?
It is letting them to have a voice in their life. And, I've gone through recently with the passing of my father, and he wasn't happy in his living arrangements that he had. He was very unhappy, and it started with him losing his ability to drive, and he continually got worse, and we put him into a very good facility. He didn't want to go to a nursing home, and, we still let him make his own decisions. It is listening to the individuals, listening to everyone that has input, from medical staff to the case managers. Everybody has to have input. Ultimately, it comes down to the public administrator that will make the decision. Even the individual that you're responsible for, you have to let them make their own input to this process and let them understand why the public administrator is doing this.
All right. Joe, we'll start this question with you. As a guardian for the nearly 250 clients on the public administrator's caseload, you're responsible for the physical, mental, and financial needs of these clients. What assurances can you offer your fellow county residents that you could make fair, judicious, compassionate decisions for these clients?
Well, I am the most compassionate person. I always said, you can call me anything, but don't question my integrity. I'm honest. I will make sure that they are taken care of every day that I'm responsible for them. And I would hope whoever gets elected would take that same approach. I want them to have a successful life. I want them to be productive. I want them to have a job if they want a job. And if they are capable of having a job that is above minimum wage, and I think some of them do have the ability to have a job that is above minimum wage, give them the opportunity. I will be an advocate for them. I will be there and meet with them anytime they want to come to the office, anytime they want to call me. I will answer their phone.
All right. Jean?
Well, I've been running on two things on my campaign. Number one is compassion, and number two is integrity. I think you need to have a lot of empathy, but I also think that a person who is schizophrenic, mentally ill, can make decisions if they're on their medications, but if they have slipped off their medications, decisions are not often made in the correct manner. I know with my mother, decisions could not be made, financial decisions or personal decisions. I have to admit to all of you that I have not worked in the developmentally disabled venues, but I have had some experiences with people that have worked in sheltered workshop. I have a cousin. And here again, you promote what you can promote for that person's well-being. But in many cases, you just really have to see that they're safe and secure and that they're taken care of, a lot of times not with their own decisions. I can tell a little story about a skillet. One of the disabled people wanted a skillet. He wasn't in a facility where he could ever cook, but he saw it on TV and he wanted a skillet. And he wrote a letter after about a month and a half of trying to get a letter to Marilyn and said, I want this skillet. And she looked at the resources and the skillet was $7.88, and she went out to Walmart and bought it, and for 3 months he carried the skillet around. Now, that's helping that person. Maybe that was a squandering of $7.88, but to me that was a situation whereby, quote, a want was met, and it made him happy. So you've really got to balance it.
All right. Thank you. Jean, next question. Part of the public administrator's job is working with guardianships, as well as the estates of deceased people. What are some of the challenges of those duties?
Well, estates are difficult. And if you have a dysfunctional family, they can be even more difficult. I worked for an attorney that handled estates, and I can remember having a gun pulled when one family member didn't think that they were getting quite what they deserved, and this particular attorney happened to be the administrator of that estate. It's a very difficult situation if you have dysfunctional families. A lot of times people want the public administrator to make a decision, particularly at end of life, so that they can get the money from Uncle Harold. And you've just got to balance what's best for the client that you have, that you are a guardian over, the resources that are there, and be open, honest, and transparent.
All right. Joe?
The guardianship issue is that the public administrator will end up being pretty much the final decision. Dealing with the family stuff that goes on, the family issues, you have to work through them, but you're ultimately working for the individual you're representing. The estates, I've had a lot of expertise doing through the estates, and it all comes down to, if it doesn't get worked out, you go to court, and the court will decide, and then you have individuals that come in that make their case about why they didn't receive what they thought was the fair settlement. And this is my background. This is what I did. I mean, I traveled all over the state of Missouri doing this, and I feel like I'm very, very qualified to do this.
All right. Joe, how familiar are you with the makeup of the public administrator staff? And if elected, how would you distribute the duties among yourself and the staff?
The actual internal workings of the current office holder, I have an idea of what the staff level is, but I also have my own opinion on what it's going to look like if I would get elected. The internal workings, I want to have myself with qualified people, very qualified people, and that if I would get elected, the first thing I would do would be meet with all of the caseload, the 250 people, person to person, see what their living arrangements are, see what they have, see what they need, and if it's agreeable, if it's workable, then deal with it at that point. I totally want to be hands-on, and I hope that if whatever staffing level I have, it lets me to go out to visit each one of these individuals personally on a rotation basis. I can't say every day because I really don't know where they're all at. So I have an idea. But that's where the case managers come in. They can call me and I can see if they've been there with them, talk to them, and go from there.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to go a little bit farther. Again, acknowledging that for most of us, we have no real idea of how the public administrator's job shakes out. So what is your understanding of, or what would be how you, as public administrator, how would you organize the office so that from project managers to yourself, what are the different roles of that in that office?
Well, it would start with the person that gets elected, and that's me. Then I would have the support staff below me being able to answer calls if I couldn't return the call, or whoever could return the call automatically. You know, I fully understand this is not 8 to 5. This is 24/7. And if something happens on a holiday, you still have to deal with it. You know, if something tragically happened to somebody, you have to deal with it. One of the worst case scenarios is that there was parents that had an infant and there was nobody to take care of them, and the infants survived. What would I do with the infant? I wouldn't want them to go through that process, and I would make sure that I would take care of that infant.
Okay. Jean, same question.
Marilyn Schmutzler has been the Cole County Public Administrator for 17 years. She has done an absolutely exceptional job. She has 3.5 staff people that are there. They are quality people. The staff does an exceptional job of both the financial and the keeping track of all of the types of programs that people are eligible for. I would go in with a situation of trying to learn what is working. I guess I have a philosophy, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Certainly there will be some tweaking. I think that my management abilities to change some things internally over time would probably come into play. The public administrator is required to do care plans every 3 months. That doesn't mean you sit in an office. That means that you go work with the clients. That's part of the statutory requirements. One of the things that I see is an increased caseload. I've been hearing some stories from larger counties than Cole, and you have to work within the county system. County commissioners set the budget. You may need to increase staffing due to increased caseload. I believe that when Marilyn took the job that there was probably around 100 people. You're saying now about 240. And there's 3.5 people there. So until you're elected and get in and actually see how things work, I'm not saying I'm going in there and do this or that. I'm going to listen.
Okay. Next question, we'll start with Jean. So, if you were to prioritize the needs of clients, how would you do so when it comes to mental, physical, housing, and financial stability?
Okay. I think it's a balancing act. First of all, I think that that individual client that you've been named guarding, they physically have to be taken care of. They have to be in a facility that meets their needs. From a financial standpoint, there are lots of resources available. You have to look at all of the resources, and you've got to look at what else that you can pull in as far as resources. Sometimes people have retirements, sometimes they don't. They've never worked. Everyone's going to have Social Security or SSI of some sort. There may be some other payments that certain clients will be eligible for under state law. So you really have to look at that. But I think the basic thing is that physically and mentally, they have to be placed where those needs are met first. And responsibly, because the county doesn't come in and say, well, we're going to put you in a $5,000 facility, you've got $250, and we're going to make up the difference. Cole County voters, that has not happened here. So there's a finite financial structure that you have to work under.
All right. Joe?
Well, you have to look at their case files. The first order of business is to just see what happened to get them there, and look at it, read it, and do a review of it, and then just physically visit them and just have a discussion with them and see what their living arrangements are. And it's pretty easy to determine if they're in the proper place or not. Go forward from that point. You know, they can tell you if something is not right or it's not meeting their abilities. And, you know, it's just listening to them. Case by case, constant contact. And that's what I want to do. I want to have a staff that is able to take care, if I'm out visiting these individuals, that could take the day-to-day operations over while I'm out visiting them. Because you don't know until you see them. You don't know until you talk to them and listen. And that's all they want to have, is just interaction with the person that's responsible to make decisions for them.
All right. Thank you. Joe, in a story Jeff Haldeman wrote about the race, you mentioned that you would make the client's financial stability a priority. What does that mean?
I want to go back and do a case-by-case review to make sure every resource they're eligible for is utilized. I mean, there could have been some benefit that they didn't get, and apply for it. If their financial situation is different, if they have more needs, see what else we're missing. That's what I mean. I'm wanting to make their lives better.
Okay. Jeannie, you have said the caseloads of public administrators will be increasing, in large part due to many older adults who have adult children with drug problems finding that they will need to be cared for themselves. How would you address this issue?
I don't know that we are at a point that, from public consciousness, that we're going to start addressing this. But I know that in the major metropolitan areas, public administrators are seeing this happen, where you have 50 to 60-year-old children that the parents have, I'll use the term, bailed out, and they just finally say, enough's enough, I'm stepping away, and the public administrator ends up, because no one else in that family will come forward and take care of Brother Joe over here or Brother Sam, and you've got another person in the system. And I think with the drug situation throughout all of the United States, and unfortunately in Missouri, let's hope it doesn't get any worse here, you're going to start seeing those kind of cases come in to increase the caseload. I think we all know about developmental disabilities. I think we know about the mentally ill. And unfortunately, the seniors are living longer, and sometimes they do outlive children, and you've got the dementia. But I don't think anyone has really taken a look at what could happen if you were getting 30 or 40 additional cases per year based on families abandoning hardcore drug users that then end up by court order in the public administrator's purview.
Okay. You know, one of the things that struck me during the whole discussion of the public administrator's role is how it's sort of evolving, that the demands placed upon the administrator, new situations are arising, which leads me to the question of, if you were to look at your understanding anyway of the caseload that the public administrator faces, what percentage of it is guardianship? What percentage of it is dealing with estates? What percentage of it is dealing with the other issues that fall under your purview? Joe.
Okay. I would say most of it comes to guardianship, but it's also becoming more difficult to anticipate what you're going to see on a day-to-day basis. Things happen, drug use is up, and, that's where it comes back to see what the case-by-case review of this is. What's their history? What did they get there? What have they got in trouble for? So you deal with it, and it may be because they have too much spending money on a day-to-day basis. So maybe throttle that back a little bit to see what they're spending. I mean, I've been there. I've worked at our facilities at Department of Mental Health. If they come up and get their personal spending allowance, they'll go and get a bag of chips and 2 sodas, and it's gone. I'm going to have, or whoever they need to know, whoever gets elected, is going to have to see what are they doing with their money. And the responsibility is up to the public administrator to say what they actually need, have a discussion with them, and then see where their money has gone. I mean, if you give them cash, you don't know. They have to have some guidance, which I will do. Guardianships, the estates are another part of it. That only happens when somebody passes away. All they need, basically what they do, or what they need, is someone has to listen to them, find out what's going on in their lives, see what they're spending their money on, and then go from there.
All right. Jean?
Once you're appointed a guardian, you have 100% responsibility for all of those things that you mentioned. It isn't a little bit of this or a little bit of that. That's statutory. You can also at times be appointed as a conservator, and that happens most often in estates. When you look at what kinds of decisions that you have to make, Joe keeps saying that people should make their decisions. They wouldn't be in a public administrator's purview if they made competent decisions or had a person that was helping him make these decisions. They don't have the ability to make that decision. I can go back and look at my mother. Somebody would knock at her door and say, "Hi, Grandma," and she would open the door and come in. She had no idea who that person was. She was at risk. That person could have walked in, robbed her, beaten her, raped her, whatever else. When you're appointed the guardian, you take care of that person. You put them in a proper facility where they are cherished and taken care of, depending on their disability, whether it's Alzheimer's, developmental disabilities, or whether it's a mental health issue. It may require a lockdown facility, but you ultimately make that decision, and you have to conserve those resources that they have to keep them in compliance. And compliance with Medicaid, you can't have, right now it's going to go up, but right now you can't have more than $1,000 in assets or you lose all of this. And once you're out of the system, to get you back in the system is incredibly difficult. So you have to manage all of that as well.
Okay. Joe, would you like to respond to Jean's?
Well, I think she was kind of inferring that I'm just going to let them go out, run free on the range. That's not what I'm intending. I'm the final answer. If I would be elected, I'm the final answer. I just want to listen to them. I'm going to take care of them. I want to do the best by them. I just want to let them have a voice. It's like growing up. You know, when I was younger, you know, you go to the grocery store and you wanted a candy bar and your parent goes, no, no, no. Well, you never got the answer why no was. And, you know, it finally got to the point where you don't need it right now. This is not what you want. They get a little explanation, you understand it more. And, you know, I've gone through my parents' situation. Believe me, my mom died in 1989 from Lou Gehrig's disease. That's a horrible disease. My dad just passed away September 21st. He can't take care of himself. He couldn't take care of himself. We kept him in the most safe, secure environment that we could ever provide. This is all you need to know about me. I will take care of them in a safe, secure environment with listening to their needs, and I will be the ultimate decision maker.
Okay. Both of you have acknowledged this is a full-time job requiring irregular office hours at best. And I guess my question is, we keep throwing around this idea of 250 caseloads, which may or may not be exactly accurate, but for argument's sake, what do you think is a realistic staffing for that? I mean, if you're hands-on, as both of you have said that you would be, is that realistic with a staff of 3.5 support staff? And we'll start with Joe.
I really didn't know that they had 3.5 people working in that office, but I will strive to get more people. From what I want to do with the office, my vision of the office, I will strive to do something a little difficult that I'll have to work with the county commission, stretch the dollars further. Instead of having full-time positions, maybe go to part-time positions, and that way that you don't have to have fringe benefits, and I could have more staff. They could work part-time and do that. This is my vision. This is what I'm thinking of doing. If I can't do that, I'm not going to go in, and if I'm elected, to totally rearrange the staff, because that would be the worst thing you could do. I wouldn't know. I've tried to reach out to the incumbent that currently has the job. She won't talk to me, and so we'll go from there. I won't have a learning curve if I get elected.
All right. Jean?
3.5 people probably is not enough to handle that. But you have a budget process at the county, and the budget process is already underway. So no public administrator, Joe or I, either one, will be able to change the staffing pattern for 2017 because the county will have signed off on the budget prior to that. You do what you can with what you have. You look at the management skills that you have and try to make things different. I will disagree with hiring part-time people. I want to hire a full-time person with a good salary that has the ability to work. I think that's been one of the problems I've seen in academia with adjunct professors that come in, go out, and there's no real continuity in the situation when you have a person that comes 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever else. I will make no decisions as to what I think is going to be done until I'm elected in that office and visit with those people, and I'm sitting down with them and learning their jobs so that I know how we can better manage those jobs for productivity and for cost savings.
All right. So a follow-up question to both of you. Both of you mentioned the County Commission, which will be having the forum for them here in a few minutes. So make your case to the County Commission now of why you would, as public administrator, need more staffing and how you would use it. Jean.
You ask a very difficult question when you don't know the staff. First of all, you need to have people who can work well with the programs that the county has, and I'm talking about programs, the financial accounting programs. So you need to have someone who knows how to do accounting within the county purview. You need to have someone who knows about the Medicare, Medicaid, mental health reimbursement system in the state. I know that there's probably a person there that deals only with those issues. Do we get all the resources that the people have coming to them? You need to have a person who understands the mental health diagnosis and facilities that are available. Not all of these people are placed in Cole County. They're placed all over the state of Missouri. There's only 2 lockdown mental health facilities that I know of in the state. Now, Joe, there may be more.
No. You've just gave me my job description for this office.
Okay, well, all I'm saying is, there are only 2?
They had Mid-Mo. Mid-Mo is no longer in
Right.
existence.
Okay. So you don't have a whole lot of choices when you have these kinds of situations. They have to be placed where that person is best taken care of.
Okay. Joe?
Again, I congratulate you for just laying out my response, because I've spent 30 years working for the Department of Mental Health. This is what I did. You know, I know Medicaid, I know Medicare, I know the insurance, I know all of that part, and honestly, if you elect me, you're getting a bargain. But the fact is, it is, the facilities that the Department of Mental Health operated, we had a lot of residents at the facilities, and it's not bricks and mortar anymore. They get out, they put them in the community, and if they disrupt, the beds have reduced, they go back and they boomerang back to the state for a little bit, and they go back out. This is what makes the public administrator's job difficult. You have to constantly be involved with them, monitor them, and that's why I would definitely have a very great staff on board. Again, I won't make a decision on my staff, but the people that I think I want are very capable, very qualified to run it if I'm out discussing anything with the individuals. And I know they're not normally placed, they may not be placed in Cole County. They may be in Joplin, they may be in Poplar Bluff. That doesn't mean I won't go down and see them. I will go see them. It is a very mobile job. The public administrator doesn't have to sit in a chair. They have to be out there with them. That's what I'm willing to give. And like I said, this is a great bargain. I could be the best public administrator this county would ever see.
Okay. So what do you think your strongest and weakest areas will be as public administrator? Areas we're jumping off on that question there. What would be the weakest and strongest elements of your service? Joe, sorry.
I've spent 30 years in this field, and I've seen a lot of things. And, every day you could have a weakness. I don't think right now I have a weakness. My strongest is surrounding myself around good staff, making right decisions. There's never a decision you cannot change the next day. It happens. Sometimes you make a good one, sometimes you don't make such a good one, but you can always change it. I've seen a lot of things. I've been through a lot in my career. I've been told from meetings to raise revenue, and I did. When I first started at mental health, I got the director of reimbursements job in 1991. We had $73 million generated yearly. When I left, it was at $220 million. I've raised millions, billions of dollars for the state of Missouri, and it went back in to provide additional services. I really wouldn't say I have a weakness.
All right. Jean?
Well, I think I have several strengths: management ability, the ability to be compassionate, and to look at each individual client's needs. You ask about weaknesses. I will admit to you that I will have a weakness, and that is following in Marilyn's footsteps and driving to visit all of these people as she does continuously. I drive well. I've not had a car accident, but just by virtue of being in the car and driving will be the most difficult thing that I see for myself. And Joe said he doesn't have any weaknesses. All of us have weaknesses and all of us have strengths. And certainly surrounding yourself with very capable people. And I know that the staff that's there, 17 years, come on, folks. There hasn't been a hint of a scandal or anyone has said anything about this office. Let's keep it going the way it is going. Marilyn has said she thinks that I'm the best candidate for this position, that I have the compassion, the integrity, and the empathy to work with these clients.
All right. Jean, what are the biggest issues facing the office in the next few years, and how do you perceive you would address them?
I definitely think increased caseload and increased internal staffing to handle that caseload. I think Cole County, don't want to pick on you commissioners, but I don't think that you really have a forward-looking vision about county resources and how to increase county resources. And let's face it, the public administrator's the bottom-feeding job. When a road needs to be fixed, county commissioners are going to do that because everybody's complaining about it. Who complains about the fact that somebody's in a nursing home and can't remember that today is Tuesday? So trying to sell the county commission on increasing your staff to take care of people is going to be very difficult, and it's going to be an ongoing problem as caseload goes up. And I really view caseload in the next 5 years moving up for lots of reasons, but I think that's the biggest problem facing any public administrator in this state.
All right. Joe?
I think the population is getting older. I think the caseloads will grow. Every time I see an article in the paper that Maryland puts in, it started at 250 and now it's 239. I think it's going to hover around 250, 275. The thing of it is that you have to have quality staff. to do this job. I guarantee I will get quality staff to do this job. I care about them. I have compassion. I'm honest. I have integrity. I want them to have the best lives possible, and also I will be the final decision maker as their guardian to do what they need to have done. They can have input. I'm going to listen to them. I want them to have their lives better. I want to make their lives better. I am just going to let them have input. I'm going to visit them. I'm going to talk to them. My staff can be in the office. I'm 24/7, all day long, any day, holiday, Christmas, I don't care. Something happens, I'm answering the phone.
All right. That concludes our questions. So now we're going to go to our closing statements. So we'll start with Jean.
Well, Joe, thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you.
And it's been a real pleasure to be on this stand with you. I think the county will be served if either one of us win.
Right.
Now, you want to know why I should win? I think I have the enthusiasm for the position. I think I have the compassion for the people. I think I have the training and the background to do the job at an exceptional level. I can guarantee every one of you sitting here, you have never, ever seen what I have seen in the third world. I could not walk into a home in this county or any place in the state of Missouri anywhere close to what I've seen working in the third world. And thank you, God, that I live in the United States of America and in Missouri. I hope that everyone here will understand that I have the passion for this position, and I'm willing to work for whatever it takes. And I hope that I can convince you and the people watching that I'm the best candidate for the job.
Thank you. Joe?
I got into this race because of my background. It wasn't because I was born and raised in Cole County. My qualifications, my background, my work experience, my family, my brothers and sisters, my wife supported me to do this. I felt that I was going to be the best person for this job. You can check my Facebook page. You can find out anything you want about me. I have the background to do the job. Just please vote November 8th. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Just choose the right person. I think I'm the right person.
All right. Thank you. On behalf of the News Tribune, I appreciate you appearing for this forum and answering our questions. I would echo the same sentiments that November 8th, we are charged to go out and vote and to make a selection for the good of the county. If you have questions about the public administrator job, you readers, viewers can certainly email us at news@newstribune.com. We'll be happy to ask those of the candidates if they were not asked previously. And again, thank you for coming. We're going to take a short break, and at 7 o'clock we'll resume with the Eastern District Commissioners. Thank you.